You know, I gotta choose that side. Why? That man in the ground. He got kids out this growing up without a dad. How the I look? I ain't got no beef with your guy or nobody else with him. Or whatever. I ain't saying he did it. I ain't saying that. Yeah. Whoever did whatever they did. But for me to be with a that this man was hating, you know, your guy was my favorite rapper all my life.
You can't choose it. Sometimes it ain't no choosing that. I ain't saying it ain't no beef. Now when you choose sides in this, homie, smoke go with that. If you're Key Glock, because I want to address the internet and everyone saying though, yo, we don't see Key Glock embracing the Ralo movement as it pertains to Dolph. I don't think there's no disrespect, but Key Glock is on the other side of this, where it ain't just no music and it ain't just no free nothing. It's really smoke behind this. We are in a monumental time in American history where former President Donald Trump underwent an assassination attempt where they attempted to put his melon right there on live television. You don't send a bullet at yourself at 80 years old. You don't stage some sort of gunshot your way at 80 years old. In particular, if you're Donald Trump, you're already a billionaire. But when he got back up, he made sure to let them folk get a clear picture of me. Here you talking about, let them folks, yeah. I said, boy, Trump clout chasing even when the bullets flying. Hey, damn, Donald Trump. Not only is he clout chasing, Donald Trump trying to steal the black power signal. Now Trump, black folks, but you can't run off with the black power symbol. Now, far as I know, man, this here belong to black folks, Trump. Before we get to the list, because we'll deal with that a little bit in the middle of this conversation, I want to deal with Elliot Wilson and Charlamagne, and I want to kind of take you guys back as to where this started and kind of where it took a turn. Elliot Wilson and Charlemagne's situation kind of took a turn. Elliot Wilson was a little bit more forthcoming and vocal about how we felt about Charlamagne after I went on Brilliant Idiots. What this really is they're seeing what you're doing and they're saying it takes no skill. I can easily do that. They're so seduced with what they think it takes you to get the job done. Someone like Big Act, then you have a Big Elliot that'll come up. Or you may have a Big 22 that pop up because they're looking at Act doing and say, what, is that all it takes?
Not trying to be the 50-year-old person still complaining about not being on lists, beefing with screamers, doing goofy shit, you know, starting shit, you know, online with rappers just to keep my name relevant. No.
But you'll see some of these guys, right? They'll be so seduced by your success, they'll turn into you.
From lunch trays and eating rice.
Yo, welcome to It's Up There podcast. I am, you know the vibes, man. Big Loon, you know, man, it's been a while since we seen each other. I want to welcome everyone back into my world. We got so much to talk about, and I won't never leave you guys again, man. I just want to put that out there to start the show. Thank you so much, everybody that's tapped in with me. We made sure we was in the right positions, in the right place, and we are now back on go. So shout out to everybody, man. If you know me, you know what. You know I got to get the business out the way. Come to patreon.com. It's Up There podcast. The vibe's extremely high behind the paywall. This is where you really support me. And for those of you that's there, salute to y'all. I got something in store right now. If you want to be involved with my next live event with Dr. Umar, we're going to have a live audience there. We're only going to have 50 people that's allowed in the building. And we got some other guests after him. We're going to allow 50 people to attend and be a live audience for some of those recordings. I think it's a monumental time in content creation. And we got so much to talk about today. So welcome, everyone. Make yourself at home. Make sure that you somewhat sitting down, get you a blunt, get you something to drink, and let's go on this audio adventure, man, and see what the culture has to offer for us today. I want to start in a very particular place. For Loon and this Up There podcast, those that listen to me, I want to be clear about my stance, and we'll get into the complex media list later. I wasn't going to talk about it, but I see Charlamagne is passionate about it, so it allows me a runway to kind of add my thoughts to what it is that I see happening. When I'm not mentioning these things, I need for my fans to know that this is a very intentional attempt to inquire about my emotional stability. Because if we're being honest about things, in which I consider myself to be one of the more honest people behind a microphone, and we'll both know that we'll arrive at the same point that It's Up There podcast is leader of the new school. Regardless of what complex and the think tank of people come up with, I want to assure you guys that we are on the cutting edge of what culture was, and what culture will become. And I want to say that and stand firm on that. We're not emotional about not being on the list by a bunch of people we can't really identify their position in the culture. So, I mean, we don't feel away, but we will talk about it. We have a podcast, and we're here to entertain our fans and have these kind of conversations, right? But where I'm going to start today kind of also strays me away from some of these hip hop media lists and these rap lists, because if you know me, you know you come here for the game, right? We'll get into some of the bullshit. We'll talk about the culture as well, but everything we do got game on it. You know how some places you go, anywhere you go, you know how some places you go, you can put bacon on any kind of sandwich. I don't give a what topic I'm talking about. It got game on it. I'm putting game on it. You dig what I'm saying? So sometimes I might go 2 months and pull out of music and talk about society. Like now today, we started at Trump's assassination and everything surrounding that. That's the furthest thing from music. But these people that make these lists are the furthest thing from tapped in. They're the opposite of tapped in. I used to feel away when my name didn't come up in these conversations until I knew that these conversations were only being had by people who ain't in the conversations. With all due respect to some of the camaraderie that you see amongst content creators and music people and execs and this entire game, I want to be loud at the top of the mountain. And the real ones tap in with me. The real ones tap in with me. I'm backstage at all the big concerts. I'm instrumental in decision making in regards to what the people want to know and how they gonna feel, and some of the game that's being gave to some of these individuals. But we're gonna start today at the Trump assassination. I want to spend some time speaking about that. For those of you who do not know, we are in a monumental time in American history where former President Donald Trump underwent an assassination attempt, where they attempted to put his melon right there on live television. We're a couple of weeks removed from this assassination attempt, and you've been able to get a little bit more information. You've saw several angles as it pertains to the camera footage, and you've heard several stories. As it pertains to me, I'm not dealing with all facts. I'm here to have a conversation and deal with my audience and us kind of just shift through some of these things. I want to take a look at this video that kind of outlines what happened to Trump, and we'll come back with some game. Pay attention.
Take a look. If you want to really see something that's said, take a look at what happened.
Couple things I want to say. If you're watching this on screen, right? It's a very dangerous time when you have these Secret Service guys that is now took center stage with rifles, because one wrong move and they start shooting. One wrong move and they start shooting. Another thing that kind of is interesting for me is that nobody runs. And I can sit back and try to give and try to contribute that somewhat to social media and people taking film and not really believing. They kind of shocked that they can't believe that this is happening, that this is a real thing. Usually when a gun is drawn and bullets are flying, people are stampeding. That entire rally of people, tens of thousands of people, stayed still. That's a very interesting thing for me. Pay attention.
To our country, probably 20 million people. And you know, that's a little bit old, that chart. That chart's a couple of months old, and if you want to really see something that's sad, take a look at what happened. If you want to really see something that's sad, take a look at what happened.
Look, they're all pointing.
The Atlantic, maybe the Pacific.
Yeah, someone's on top of the roof. Look. There he is right there.
Where?
Right there, see him? He's laying down, see him?
Yeah, he's laying down.
And son, I'm here with you fighting like hell to get a Senate.
What's happening?
And to make sure we take back the White House, because if we do, we're going to make America better than ever before. We're going to make it.
Yeah, look. There he is.
Because we have millions and millions of people in our country that shouldn't be here. Dangerous people. Criminals. We have criminals. We have drug dealers. We have people that should not be here.
Right on the roof.
It's much tougher than it happens. And you know, that's a little bit... He's going down!
Stay under here.
We're good. Shooters down. Are we good to move?
We're clear.
Let's move. Let's move.
We're clear.
Moving to spare. Hold. When you're ready. On you.
Ready?
Move.
Up.
Move. Go.
Up. Hawkeye's here.
Hawkeye's here. Move to the spare.
Spare, get ready. Spare, get ready.
We ready?
Down. Down.
Are we good? Shooters down. Are we good to move?
We're clear.
Let's move. Let's move.
We're clear.
Come on.
Let me get my shoes. Let me get my shoes.
I got you, sir. I got you, sir.
Let me get my shoes, sir.
Hold that in your head. It's bloody.
So we gotta move to the bus. Move to the bus. Let me get my shoes.
Okay. My shoes down. My shoes.
Watch out.
They're bringing Trump here. They're bringing Trump. You dirty mother. There goes Trump. There goes Trump. There goes Trump.
Do you hear me? The one cop car, the window was blown out.
Dude, that mother.
First it was shock, and then I'm ticked off. And now we're going to take it, just like my friend said, to another level. And we are going to fight, just like he said, fight. We're going to fight. He is going to be elected, and we're going to get him there. We're going to take him there.
I'm ashamed, actually, of the United States and kind of where we are right now. I just feel like our country is at a lull and at a low, and that your first response would be to try to kill somebody is pretty devastating.
When I first seen that play out on camera, I felt like, you know, every other American feels, right? I don't want to see anyone's head blown off or assassination attempt on anyone, whether they hold political office or not. As I get older, I find myself being a little more empathetic to certain things, right? It was an interesting place I was in for a second, and, you know, I jump on the Xbox, jump in a party with a couple of the homeboys that, you know, college football and stuff is coming out. And so as I jump on, the conversation immediately goes to, was this fake? If you ask me 1,000%, you don't send a bullet at yourself at 80 years old. You don't stage some sort of gunshot your way at 80 years old. In particular, if you're Donald Trump, you're already a billionaire. I don't see winning the presidency being on your bucket list of things that involve you sending a 223 bullet at you, or 7.62 or 5.57, whatever that was that dude shot. I don't see that being in the cards. Again, Trump is already a billionaire. Trump is already powerful. He's already has people that they already can consider the deep state. He's already established himself across judges in this country, special prosecutors. He has people in his cabinet that now holds high positions in other areas. So I don't see him trying to get himself shot or staging some sort of shoot me right by the ear son thing, you know, because people online even took the conspiracy that far. Like, yo, man, he even said, yo, shoot me in the ear. Like, just make sure you don't hit my head. I'm trusting you. It's like, what kind of movie y'all writing around here where a billionaire dude gonna send a 223 bullet at his head to win the presidency? He's all but 80 years old at this point. Well-established billionaire kind of guy. It ain't that serious, beloved. Others would like you to believe it's that serious. They got to show me some evidence. Please, someone provide me some evidence of it being that serious for him to win the presidency that he'll actually send a bullet at himself. I think that's absurd. So after we had that conversation, my mind gets to wondering, and another point that I would consider that would say, yo, it's no way that this is fake, is that there was loss of life. And while some people push back on that and say sacrifice is just a part of the overall mission and it is not even taken into account as long as it's not one of ours, I don't participate in that theory. In particular, when we speaking about it being staged. Now, I do believe that loss of life is viewed differently when you talk about the government. In the same way, if we get bombed It's a travesty if we bomb someone, it's purpose behind it. And so the perspective of the government sways depending on the objective. But seeing that an innocent man lost his life, a couple people was hurt, shot, like literally, and they found a man with a rifle there shot. I don't see how stage can be on the list of things that could occur when we talk about this Trump assassination attempt. My mind then wanders to, well, who's held accountable for those bodies, for those dead bodies that appeared and kind of took that bullet that was meant for Donald Trump? You know, I had some people pushing back on me in the community, and they were saying, well, Loon, they're going to sue Trump. They're going to sue them. They're supposed to guarantee their safety. And I want to let you guys know that, in my opinion, this is a free rally. And so Trump doesn't assume any kind of responsibility, or Trump or his security doesn't assume any kind of responsibility as it pertains to protecting you. As you seen when bullets started to fly, they had one person of interest, and it was Donald Trump, to the tune of putting themselves in front of whatever bullet or whatever harm that was headed that way, at least present themselves in being placed in front of whatever harm meant for Trump. They don't assume any responsibility for tens of thousands of people that come to a free rally. That's number one. Number two, if you take a bullet at a Trump rally, first I do want to say, because of loss of life, RIP to the person. And so the person that lost his life, RIP Corey Comperatore, he was an ex-firefighter. In my opinion, him taking that bullet that was meant for Trump, you instantly become a martyr. And so when you become a martyr, I believe, being attached to Trump, and you see him have some of the highest donation watermarks that we've seen reports of millions of dollars across a couple of days as it pertains to incoming donations, small donations for Donald Trump, which says to me he has a very active contributing party. And so when you're dealing with that, in my opinion, you don't turn around and sue Trump, because 9 times out of 10, you're suing the government. Because if you're saying that Trump is supposed to have you guys secured in this location and he has the Secret Service securing him, you're basically filing a lawsuit on who? The Secret Service, which is what? A branch of the government. So you're sending a lawsuit up to the government about the government. To me, that's a catch-22. And so I would imagine Trump reach out to those people. I would imagine some donations come in by the millions for the person that took a bullet at a Trump rally, who was an ex-firefighter. I just imagine that. I just imagine that they pour in, like the amount of money that pours in, because they can frame that so many ways to fit so many agendas and narratives. With all due respect for the loss of life that happened that night, he died a martyr, covering his family. You know, the kind of heart that takes, it's not a lot of people that'll do that. Here's something funny though, right? So as you see Trump go down, I found it interesting. I'm just on the podcast, I'm giving y'all a few things that for me just kind of stuck out, right? When Trump reached out and put his head, couple things came to my attention at this last moment before Trump was escorted off stage after this assassination attempt. One was when he did get back up. Granted, they did say shoot her down, but when he got back up, he made sure to let them folk get a clear picture of me. Here you talking about let them folks, yeah. I said, boy, Trump clout chasing even when the bullets flying. Man, they got Trump, man. Trump gonna clout chase, man. I don't get no damn what you folk talking about. Next thing you know, I see Trump reach his head out and go like it right there and say fight with no mic or nothing. He knowing people gonna see him. So Trump clout chasing with the bullets flying at him. He done went to clout chasing. Middle of assassination attempt. He pop in clout chasing mode. Now, how you know it ain't 2 or 3 shooters? Yeah, one shooter's down. How we don't know it's another shooter 400 yards out? So when he pop his head out, fight, boop, they could have popped this shit off. For him clout chasing in that moment could have cost him his life, but lucky for him and lucky for everyone watching, because that would have been a very gruesome scene to see something like that, right? Not only do we don't want to see loss of life, period, in that way, but To see it happen to someone live on television while America is watching in the middle of a campaign, you just can't understand the gravity of it. And 100 years from now, they're going to look back at this. And this is why Trump started the clout chase mid-assassination attempt. Now, I'm conflicted because I did see him bleeding. And I do believe something happened with his ear. But if I know what I know about guns, wasn't no motherfucking 7.62 bullet hit his ear and it just did that. It would have took half his face off. So maybe it hit something. Maybe something happened and something cut his ear. I don't know what happened, but he was cut. And we get back to America's marketing. Because a couple of days later, Trump comes out at the Republican convention and accepts the nomination. And he got the big white bandage on his ear. I said, boy, they running high level game on now, boy. Ooh, they running high level game. And because of how he talking, how he continue to move his head long and longer through the speech, guess what's going on? The bandage moving. You know how a bandage will do. Before you know it, the wave cap ain't even on no more. You don't went to sleep moving around. The wave cap come out. That's how that bandage was doing. It moving back and back. And so you really seeing that. Say, bro, if a bullet really hit your ear, it's your ear coming with the bullet. If it don't, take your head with it. But at least that part of your ear coming with the bullet, right? Now, something happened. You can't discredit that a guy was shooting at him and he was shot at. But when they go to saying that a bullet hit his ear, this is when I got to see a little bit more evidence. But America's marketing kicked in. Trump wears the big white bandage on his ear. Guess what? They paying to the crowd. Guess what I see? 2,000 bandages. From here to Maine, from Spain to Maine in the crowd got bandages on their ear. Guess what I said? While they're supporting him, they're also validating the people like me that says it takes nothing to put a bandage on your ear. That's how everybody can do it. See how everybody do it? It didn't mean nothing. All these people in the crowd ain't got nothing wrong with their ear, but they got the bandage there. I don't know if that lends it credibility or validates that it takes nothing to put that bandage on your ear. Therefore, it may not be a real injury behind the ear. Again, I'm not the person that's pushing back saying that someone did not try to assassinate Donald Trump. I'm in favor of believing all of this was 100% real. Again, we got loss of life. RIP to the guy Corey. His family has to deal with loss of life. So I can't push back on the fact that bullets were flying. This was a real situation. But in the same breath, I can establish and also acknowledge that Donald Trump was clout chasing in the middle of the assassination attempt. He pop out and he do like it. I said, damn, Donald Trump. Not only is he clout chasing, Donald Trump trying to steal the Black Power signal. Now, Trump, black folks, but you can't run off with the Black Power symbol. Now, as far as I know, man, this here belong to black folks, Trump. Yeah, you use it after you got shot. Yeah, you trying to slick. No, you got to holler at us about that, homie. Yeah, you got to holler at us about can you borrow the Black Power thing. That's the Black Power thing. It ain't the fight thing. That's the Black Power thing, homie. Yeah. I'm glad Trump actually didn't get hit. You know, again, that as I get older, man, loss of life is starting to affect me more, you know, and as I get away from that environment that had me so high strung on survival, I just started to be more empathetic, started to have feelings. I'm growing to have feelings now. I've lost enough to be able to establish the feeling of losing, and I don't want anyone to have to feel that. We'll get off Trump here soon, as I spend a lot. This is not a political podcast, right? But we get to the game. Here's what the last point in closing about Donald Trump. I was watching another rally where Donald Trump basically told them folks, look, I'm trying to buy your vote. I ain't gonna lie to you about that. And for me, that kind of honesty, while could be radioactive, for me does hold some sort of weight. I'll be honest. With Donald Trump being someone that has been in an assassination attempt, been indicted, already had a very strong base. I find it hard to believe that anyone can beat Donald Trump this election season. I'll say that. But here's the interesting part that I think is for me worth writing home about. After Trump's situation, I thought that Joe Biden would back out of the election. For those of you in the community, in particular on the parties with me, I came on there and I said, you know what? I think gonna happen is they're gonna say he's sick and then he's gonna focus on his health. Shortly after that, Joe Biden, for those of you do not know, you must be living under a rock. Joe Biden has announced that he is backing out of running for president in this new election of 2024. It came at no surprise. What I do find interesting is that he cites that he has COVID at this time. He was just with a media personality from the culture, Speedy, who didn't test positive for COVID. And they were extremely close with each other. Maybe COVID's not airborne anymore. But in my opinion, what you have is you have Joe Biden getting out the way of what a political freight train. You have Trump coming with momentum that has not been seen or felt in quite some time. And what we're dealing with is they're going to try to throw the black woman in front of it. They're going to try to rally black people, the black woman, the hip hop culture behind Kamala Harris and throw her in front of a train that is almost in this point of time impossible for her to beat. If you ask me, she does not have the runway or the campaigning time to solidify herself as a candidate, although she's held office in the vice presidency spot. As we know, there's a formula to make this pie. And all of a sudden, we gonna ignore that and act like she has a real shot. But I believe they're setting her up to be embarrassed. And I say this with a heavy heart because I have a black mother. And some people say she doesn't identify as black, but I have a black mother. I have black women that I truly care about. And I believe that they're some of the most brilliant people. And they raised me. So the respect I have for black women is not going to stop because I have criticism of a scenario that a black woman finds herself in. If you ask me, I believe them to be throwing her in front of Trump. So in 50 years, they look back at the numbers, the underwhelming turnout for the black woman, and they turn their nose up at it. If I was Kamala Harris, I respectfully decline to run for presidency as we don't have the time to give me a fair shot as a black woman. And I'm not only doing this for America in 2024, I'm doing this for my race. I represent more than just me in this moment. I represent us for a lifetime. I got to think about y'all going to throw me, the black woman that has no time. I got 90 days to run for presidency. Now, on the flip side, you do got Trump, who has campaigned and catered his whole style and rhetoric to Joe Biden that now has to switch to Kamala Harris. But if you ask me, you have to shake hands and kiss babies. You got to make yourself available. Either they going to work this young lady to death for her to even make a dent in the votes. This is how you know they're counting on default votes. They're counting on them to just pass the vote down. You got to go holler at the people. You got to be instrumental. But they're going to try to use hip-hop and black folks and not like us. This is what they're going to do. But in the end, if you ask me, ultimately, they're going to set Kamala Harris up. And I could be wrong. Hopefully I am. But I truly believe that if the turnout is underwhelming, it causes a black eye for black women in particular running for president in the future. And so I think she needs to be cautious as she approaches this. Elliot Wilson and Charlamagne's beef. Let's speak about that. And also we'll throw the complex list in this conversation as well. Again, I wasn't going to speak about it. In my opinion, it has no validity. It's a very underwhelming approach to doing a list. Feels motivated for all the wrong reasons. And the reason I don't want to point out some of the obvious things is because when you're not on the list, they feel like when you speak on it, you crash out. So I want to stay away from crashing out. I'm more valuable to the culture when I articulate my ideas and I keep myself in a safe space, right? So let's try to do that, but let's deal with a couple of these things at the same time. For all the people out there that's listening to this that's not familiar with what I'm speaking about, Complex has a list in which they do top 25 hip-hop media power rankings. You heard my name come up last year with Charlamagne saying that I should have been on the list. We didn't make the list this year either. Again, it's intentional that we don't make the list because we're threats to the power structure. We deal with music, society, and culture, but we deal with it in a way that's not funny bunny and it's not cookie cutter. And so it's unfiltered opinions and it's led by the culture in real time. And so when you're not in control, you're out of control if you ask these people. Before we get to the list, because we'll deal with that a little bit in the middle of this conversation, I want to deal with Elliott Wilson and Charlamagne, and I want to kind of take you guys back as to where this started and kind of where it took a turn. Elliott Wilson is someone that I've ran into before. We have videos where Elliott Wilson is telling people that Loon is the future of content and podcasts, and I couldn't tell that if I look at his page. We're not covered over there, so interesting that you see these guys, they say these things, but you don't see this resonate in their real lives. I guess this is what they mean when they say gatekeep. We'll set that to the side. Loon doesn't say things when I see you just because I see you. And that goes for nobody. I mean, that goes for anybody. From the biggest artist to the smallest artist. From the biggest ball player to the smallest ball player, I don't come and shake your hand and say I fuck with you if I don't fuck with you. I'll sit over here in my little corner and do my little own thing. Like, I ain't tripping. I ain't got to be in your pictures. I ain't got to be a part of your vibration. I'll just be over here in the cut. You also got to remember I'm coming out the street, so I don't have no whole bunch of leeway for no whole bunch of niggas, no way. I'm somewhere trying to really catch my cut, and I seem like I'm antisocial, but I'm really jokative. I'm taught I like to give game and be the center of the. I like to be the life of the party, but I can't be the life of the party when I don't know if it's a party or not. Just because they playing music and drinking don't mean it's a party. I've seen things happen in spots where niggas was drinking and got music on that nigga wasn't nobody celebrating afterwards. So you got to think that when I see people and they say things, I take those things as face value. We all men. So whatever. I have no issue with Elliott Wilson, but I do want to address the elephant in the room. Elliott Wilson and Charlemagne's situation kind of took a turn. Elliott Wilson was a little bit more forthcoming and vocal about how we felt about Charlamagne after I went on Brilliant Idiots. See, I take you guys down memory lane for people who are new here. When I first got involved with the podcast deal with Charlamagne, I went and done the Brilliant Idiots. Clearly impromptu, we had a conversation about Akademiks. In my opinion, I was depositing some more gas into the game. I was adding to the algorithm. I was pointing out things that I thought held value, that I now can reevaluate some of those things and try to see exactly how those things turned out. But in that moment afterwards, me and Charlamagne did like a 3.5 hour interview. It did great. If you haven't, go check that out. It's up there, podcast, Black Effect Network. It's out right now. And then you had Elliott Wilson go holler at Akademiks. If you remember, right in this time, Akademiks had came out and tried to frame it like Charlamagne got on my podcast, but he didn't get on Akademiks' podcast. And Akademiks was having an issue about that. And he was saying, yo, Charlamagne, when he got on this dude podcast, and I've asked him to get on. And so shortly after, he had Elliott Wilson. And what did Elliott Wilson say? Well, I don't like how he uses cosign. He doesn't use it in the right way. Now, I could have took that and responded to it then and said some things that maybe would have been unfavorable. But if you notice, all the fire I've went through amongst that time and some of the reactions from a lot of the dick suckers of academics, I never responded to them. I'm 1,000,000% sure that if I wanted to make a phone call to Akademiks, that phone call can be made. I'm 1,000,000% sure of that. My issue with Akademiks is how he was handling the CBF.W and how he was handling some of the coaches, some of the things that he was adding to, in particular, like with the Takeoff situation. When Takeoff has a family and you reiterating these murders and you putting them on people and you don't really know, and then the next day you try to clear it up. There was a situation with Raw Wave where Raw Wave came out of a studio and it was alleged by the police that he had got the shooting. Akademiks did a 40-minute video about it. To this day, it's still up. 400,000-500,000 views. Come to find out, that wasn't even the situation. And so these guys sit on these platforms and they add fuel to the fire. But I'm the guy that go and visit the burn site. I'm the guy that got to deal with the mothers. I'm the guy that got to speak life into the young niggas with no fathers. I'm the nigga that got to give life to people that come from that avenue, from those street corners. And so my job is to direct traffic when these dudes don't know when they making our culture veer off. And so Elliot Wilson took that a certain way, that Charlamagne had me on there speaking in whatever way that I was speaking. And so he found himself, in my opinion, going to bat for Akademiks. In that moment, Akademiks even pushed back on him. His relationship with Charlamagne is his relationship with Charlamagne. My relationship with Charlamagne, that's my brother. Anytime I hit him, he hit me. Anytime he hit me, I hit him back. There's not any time in between. There's not any, like, this is my guy. And so imagine what I feel like when this dude saw me and called me the future. Imagine what that makes me feel like when I watch an Akademiks interview for Elliot Wilson to stick his nose in it. He didn't have nothing to do with it. Stuck his nose in it. Says, I don't like the way Charlamagne is using his cosign. He was uncomfortable with me challenging the throne. He was uncomfortable with me coming into the game saying, hey, yo, bro, get this right. Button that up. Do this a different way, bro. It's affecting things. I've dealt with it personally. I've heard about it personally. You dig? You've heard Chicago plea and cry. You dig? You've heard these people plea and cry with this dude. Yo, please stop. You making the young boys try to earn a name. It don't even resonate with him. And so by me being in this game with a voice, I felt obligated to over communicate that. I always find it interesting, and I don't know if this applies to Elliot Wilson or not, but I always find it interesting that some people are seduced with other people's success even though they've already had success. And so in real time, you will see some of these guys that's already had a run. Like you had a run. You was that guy. And I was telling someone, yo, man, like, Elliot Elliot and Charlamagne, hey, man, listen, Elliot is good at writing maybe, and I kind of took some of his interviewing abilities, but I went and looked, and I'll give him some more points. Elliot is a great interviewer. He asks great questions. He gets out the way, right? Very involved in the interview. But he can't fuck with Charlamagne the God. Not on the microphone. Like, not on the microphone. But you will see some of these guys, right? They'll be so seduced by your success, they'll turn into you. It's like, oh, that's all you got to do. What this really is, and this is interesting. This is a mental thing that's happening. What this really is they're seeing what you're doing and they're saying it takes no skill. I can easily do that. They're so seduced with what they think it takes you to get the job done. Someone like Big Act, then you have a Big Elliot that'll come up. Or you may have a Big 22 that pop up because they're looking at Act doing it and say, what, is that all it takes? Oh, shit, man, I can do that. They don't know what all it may have took. But I'm always interested in people that's seduced by other people's success when they've already had success. They've already been successful. And so then they morph into a Power Ranger. Just like them, or just a different color. You're going to do the same thing they do to try to get the same result. But this game could be equal opportunity, but it's not equal outcome. I'm dealing with that. People are going to do the same interview I did and then reiterate my questions and try to act like they popped up with something. And I'll be sitting back like, yo, man, just got to wait your turn, Loon. Just keep it going. Just keep it going. Just wait your turn. Just keep it going. And you'll be okay. I think it's interesting that Elliot chooses Charlamagne to have an issue with, because if you ask me, Elliott Wilson has to stay out of the blast zone. Elliott Wilson can do a lot of things. I don't think he needs to be trying to go back and forth with anyone that's that's a master on this microphone. And I say that respectfully to Elliott Wilson. I'm going to give you guys a little bit of back. And so as we get into this Elliott Wilson and Charlamagne beef, I want y'all to hear what Charlamagne said on Brilliant Idiots. Pay attention.
Yeah. Okay. Now, what can we say about Charlamagne? He is a mainstay in rap media, even as he continues to broaden his scope and find new ways to transcend hip hop. This is part of the reason he dropped the slot this year. The top three have displayed a hyper-focused commitment to hip-hop coverage, but with that being said, he's still a beast. Charlamagne, of course, anchors the most popular hip-hop morning show in the country, The Breakfast Club, and his Brilliant Idiots podcast and Andrew shows ate nicely off of the Kendrick and Drake buffet. No, he didn't. He may be increasingly involved in political punditry or doing comedic guest spots on The Daily Show, but his views about hip-hop still matter. There's a reason why you hear his voice sampled by Future and Metro Boomin on #1 off We Still Don't Trust You. He is one of the few talking heads who can still get an angry response from Drake, like when he criticized the SZA collab Slime You Out last fall, and the audience expects more from him, which is why he took heat for some of his soft Diddy commentary. With great power comes the expectation of great takes. I didn't have soft Diddy commentary. Y'all should go listen to my Donkey of the Day complex, and my Diddy commentary was actually real commentary, because I simply said, it bothers me when I see these hip-hop icons crash and burn. How is that not? He is find new ways to transcend. You should see me on CNN. They shouldn't drop us. I'm not on shit. They're not just empowered. Fantastic. Kai Cenat is just scratching the surface. Kai is not.
It has a Drake
like around hip hop in the industry. Like don't for insightful at Joe being #2. Make a case for Kai Cenat being #3. But I'm not mad at Joe being #2. You know, like that's a good spot. Like don't for insightful commentary and insider perspective around hip hop in the industry. I think that one thing that Joe leans into a lot is being somebody who was a rapper, who was in the industry, and he takes it serious like a lot of the sports pundits do. Like when you see a lot of these sports pundits on these networks like ESPN, FS1, people that actually played the game, like the ones that actually played the game, they have a different level of insider information. They may not get everything right all the time, and you may not agree with everything that, they say all of the time, but being that they played the game, their perspective is different. And I think he leans into that better than every rapper turned podcaster. The only other person I think that does it as well is somebody like my man Glasses Malone with the No Ceilings podcast. Now scroll up. I can't believe I said that many good things about Joe Budden. #1.
So you see Charlamagne speak to Joe Budden's place on the list, and he gives Joe Budden credit in his current day and time. Now here's something interesting. I just explained the Elliott Wilson backstory. Of course, my face wasn't showing because I forgot to hit the button. But I think some of you guys get the picture, and I'll give a brief synopsis with my face on the camera now. I'm not going to delete that, but I do want to do it with my face on the camera for you guys. Elliott Wilson took a shot at Charlamagne in regards to my appearance on the Brilliant Idiots when I was kind of critical of Akademiks and some of his positions in the market. Elliott Wilson came out and said that Charlamagne the God isn't using his cosign right. And for people who are not in the know, you don't know what that really means. I explained earlier that me and Elliott Wilson saw each other a couple of times. One time in particular, I have him on camera with me saying that I'm the future. And so for me to be the future and for him to feel a way about my commentary on Akademiks when Akademiks has commentary on everyone, for me, it was an interesting take. Now, Elliott Wilson didn't say my name per se because what you see happening is they're playing a weird game that they think works in the industry. Some of these guys are so industry that they still think that some of these games are working, but we're in the internet. The glass ceiling has been broken. And so the people get a chance to actually engage where they would like to engage at. Could have responded to that then. I could have took that as a slight then. What are you saying? Charlamagne just helped someone come from a scenario where they have a wealth of information to help our culture. Someone that our culture clearly enjoys. Someone that is in the engine room as it pertains to what's going on in the South. And so the idea that someone can even utter those words, for me, because it was Elliott Wilson and everyone else that was taking shots at that point of time, I knew that it'll catch up, and I said, yo, that maybe they don't understand what I'm saying. They frame this like it was some sort of, they frame it like it was an attack, but it was an observation. And we in critic culture. We in culture where we speak to one another. And so my observations need to be noted like everyone else's. And so here's what Charlamagne said on The Brilliant Idiots that I guess Elliott Wilson personalized. Let's pay attention.
Elliot, I don't think you should be number 5. Number 4, Charlemagne the God. All right, now let me read this, right? Last year's ranking, number 3, featured on The Breakfast Club, The Brilliant Idiots, known for sensational comedy. Jason, that's what I mean when I say, why are you upset that people are transcending hip hop? I'm not trying to be the 50-year-old person still complaining about not being on lists, beefing with screamers, doing goofy shit, starting shit, online with rappers just to keep my name relevant. No, I want to do things and put my...
And so Elliott Wilson tweeted this out. And if you're looking at the screen, it says, F you, see the God, and it tags him. Elliott Wilson then tweets, a Hall of Fame career third mic nigga crying about my top 5 status. Legacy these nuts. I got great content on the way, 2024. There's a lot of reasons why this list is null and void, but I also think we saw the integrity corrode when Elliott Wilson last year went on a campaign about this list, and all of a sudden this year he comes up much more higher than he was last year. I want people to know this listening to me, right? Because I think this is important information. These lists are not really for the people by the people. These lists are for the industry by the industry. And by industry, I mean people who are outside of making the music, living in the conditions of the music, and breaking the music. You're dealing with reactors of music. And so when you talk about my show and some of these shows that are on the other side of the coin when it pertains to this, there should be some space in our understanding, because you've never created it and you don't know what it's like to live in it, and you don't know what it's like to break it. But we deal with the people that break records, the people that understand the music, not just react to the music, right? Think it's space for both of those things. You heard Elliot get into it with Casanet about him getting certain looks. You heard some of my commentary about the streaming world and if streaming actually translates, right, for rappers, right? So you sit there, granted, right? Is it worth it? It's always, for those of you who do not know, in this industry, there's always a conversation of, is it worth it? And I was interested because somewhere along the line, someone hit a button and everybody said it's worth it for streaming. And so there was a point where I was watching it and trying to figure out, yo, what is this translating? I know people are there. And I know how hard it is to get all these people in one spot, granted, right? Great. But do they translate? Do they leave this and click that? Do they leave this and talk about that? Do they leave this and buy that? Do they leave this and go to a concert? These were my questions. Is it real value in this transaction with this rapper, or are they just solidifying streaming? This was my commentary. I believe that Elliott Wilson's commentary on Casanet was received as an old dude hating on the young guy. And so now he lives with that. He lives with people constantly bringing up the fact that he's been involved with what can be called hating on Cassinet and his whole movement. I truly believe Elliott Wilson looks at Akademiks and what he's done and says, yo, I can do that. I just got to turn it up some. I can actually do that if I turn it up some. I look at what Joe does. I can do that if I turn it up some. I believe these are conversations that he may have with himself. Like, if I turn it up some, I can do that. But you don't want to turn into the avatar of angry. You don't want everyone to look at you and say, that's the avatar angry. Again, the people that's ahead of us, it's always unfortunate and disheartening to come back and play like the little homies. Because what that does is it poisons the pathway. People like Elliot, you poison in the pathway when you come back and do certain things. That's why he had to apologize for what he did with Cassinet. See, it took him so long to build this prestige. And it's like, for the sake of the moment right now, and to be involved with the conversation now, he's willing to risk everything he's built. Because I don't think you can have it both ways. You can't keep that career as polished as it was and still be involved in it like it is now. You're going to have to sacrifice some of that button up. You're going to have to sacrifice some of that clean cut button up imagery that you've had. And I think he's mishandled that. He's kind of strained his Nicki relationship, strained his Drake relationship. And it's because you're giving these people things that they don't know you for. We didn't build our relationship with you having this kind of behavior, and you didn't build your relationship on your own, and I came to you. And so now this relationship is kind of wacky. But getting back to the list and why I believe that is null and void, like, it's a contradiction. The entire list, for me, if you ask me, is a waste of the man hours that they put into it, which I can tell by the selections of the list and the order of the list and some of the writing on the list that they may have not allotted a lot of time to get this done. So I'll give them that. There's a few things wrong with the list. One, I'll point out, one of the things wrong with the list is last year you had Joe Biden at number 1. I believe the list to be null and void because if someone is number 1 on a power ranking list, power being the operative word, again, last year I've said this, you have to identify power because there's no way to say I'm as powerful as being number 1 on a power ranking list and then no one else on my couch is nowhere on the list. It's just a contradiction because if I'm powerful, some of my guys will be on the list. Now, last year, let's just put that in question. This year with Joe Biden being number 2, this makes the list again. The same statement is reintroduced. If Joe Biden is number 2 on a power ranking list for Complex and he does a show with the same 4 or 5 people every week, he does nothing outside of that show. He does 0 outside of that show. Now, when he done Love and Hip Hop, he done these other shows around it, maybe was on Revolt, all of these other things. All right, you got a sample size of other things. If number 2 on your list is sitting with 4 other people every single week, 2 times a week, and no one else makes the list, then what do you mean by power? Off of that complex power ranking, Charlamagne, Elliott, let's deal with Ralo going on Say Cheese TV for his first interview after being released after serving, I believe, 6 to 7 years in a federal prison. For those unaware, rapper Ralo has been incarcerated in the federal penitentiary. His name has came up in a slew of things since his arrest. And this interview with Sean Cotton, he came to address a lot of those things. Salute Sean Cotton, salute Say Cheese. He's a pillar in the space. He didn't even make the list. So again, the list is null and void. Ralo, while in jail, some of his own people from his own side, his own area came out and spoke to him having some sort of paperwork on his name. And they were coming to let people who they felt like needed to know that, yo, something is going on with his case. Ralo pushed back on that and explained that, yo, I was running some sort of play. He says he was going to pay somebody to take his case. Ralo and Boosie Because for those unaware, Boosie seems to be the one that steps up and says things about rappers who portray a certain lifestyle and then get their name caught up in some. He kind of acts as like he's policing the police shit. And so he spoke about Ralo and he clarified it, and they kind of had a back and forth. Ralo now is out of jail and he addresses some of that here in front of Sean Cotton. I want to pay attention to a little bit of that and I want to react to it. Let's pay attention.
They just be trying to do anything for Instagram, likes and views.
I seen you were upset about it, but when Boosie mentioned it, you really went.
The thing about people Boosie. Like the brother, I don't, whatever Boosie, I love the brother. You know what I'm saying? Misguidance is what causes mankind to be ignorant. You smell me? He was led into that dictionary. If he would have went fed, or he would have at least talked to me and said, Ralo, pull up with the paperwork and show me, because this nigga saying this about you. This nigga saying this. You could have gave me an opportunity to show you, like, look, John, this is what I'm on. But now, but with people out, generally, if a nigga say something bad about you that ain't true, or possibly they want that shit to be true. They wish that upon you. Because if a nigga, if Gold might do some lame shit, or any nigga I love, if my bitch do some lame shit, if a nigga tell me a nigga fucking my bitch right now while me and you talking, I'm like, hell no, that ain't going on. It's gotta be something else to this. It's got to be something else to this. I ain't gonna let no shit, can't no nigga tell me nothing about my people without me going to my people and being able to say, hey, what's going on? You smell me? What's going on? Tell me, show me what's going on. If he would have done that, then we wouldn't be here today. If niggas would have did their investigation, their proper investigation, what's going on? Let me hit the whole phone call. Let me hear this. Let me do that. If you do your proper investigation, then you'll get the truth. You smell me? Investigate. That's what the facts do. They get their motherfucking truth. They get their facts and they prosecute your ass. Get your facts together and bring it to the table. That's what you do. You don't go do no lame shit like that to your mans or nobody. Don't do that. Don't do lame shit to nobody. Just go up there and ask them, hey, look, what's going on? And then you make a decision yourself on how to go about this. No nigga ain't finna say nothing about my mans and I'm not finna push up on my man. Hey, John, push up. What the fuck you doing that for? I would've never did that to a nigga. I would've never did that.
Have you spoke to him since?
I mean, we speak through, you know, I represent why I'm finna lose. I stay down for I talk to his mom. I do right by my people that's in jail because I was in jail.
Right.
Niggas that's dead and all that type of shit. We have mutual friends. I don't be with that telling a nigga to pick a side because I fuck with this dude. You smell me? Just cause he said that or whatever, that don't deter me from fucking with Lucci mama and Lucci and shit like that. So yeah, I do right by my people. So we will always have common folk. You smell me? But you know, whenever he read, I'm not in denial. Like, let's talk. Like, whenever, I ain't got no pride issue. You know, some of these niggas, they get some money and they just think they too good. But I'm not that nigga. You smell me? You right now, you can pull up. Right now, nigga, you can come. I'm ready. You smell me? Like, I don't be with all that old bitch ass shit. And then I won't tell you like go get no gun because I ain't scared to lose. You smell me? We can fight it out or whatever. Even if we do some lame shit now, we fight over here and shit. You smell me? So like, it's just like that with me. If you my brother, or supposed to be my brother, you love me, or you some kind of real nigga, then, you know, we can have a conversation. That we don't like the results to it, let's shoot it. Let's shoot a one. You know what I'm saying? But niggas quit to go get a gun when they get their ass beat.
So,
yo, I think it's important. I speak about this, right? Ralo said a gang of real shit in there. Boosie has his position. What I find interesting is, and where I find opportunity is that Ralo seems to be one of them dudes from the street that meet these guys and put them in the family box. Everybody don't go in the family box. Like, even when I hear him say, yo, if I'm supposed to be your people and you supposed to love me, I'm supposed to be your people. Like, my question to that would have been, yo, how long you been knowing Boosie? 10 years. Like, yeah, but is it a rap thing? Is that some rap shit? Like, do y'all really, really kick it? Because if we really pay attention to the streets and we all come up in the streets, we got to pay attention to not only this scenario, but all scenarios that happen across the land. We can even stay in Memphis. We deal with Lil Migo. He get in a situation where a young nigga who was around him on some rap shit, double back, go in his crib and bust him down, take all this shit. And the first thing these niggas gonna say is, yo, I ain't grow up with dude. Like, he ain't really one of mine. I ain't really grow up with him. You know what I'm saying? Like, we was straight, but I ain't really grow up with that dude. Like, he ain't really my homeboy. That's how these niggas will justify whatever they do to you. You dig what I'm saying? So knowing that that's happening in the same streets that we come from, how did we then get into rap and then meet a nigga and then say that he my family, he my brother, he love me? Because love is an action. You got to tell me what actions y'all getting from each other to where it's love. When you hear me say, yo, I got love for certain people in this industry, it's because their actions done showed me love. And so I ain't saying you can't meet real niggas through music. I ain't saying you can't meet real niggas on your journey. But if I'm Boosie, you Ralo, I'm from New Orleans, or I'm from Louisiana, you from Atlanta, and we be so quick in this game to say people is our people, but you know why? It's because this rap shit be saving a nigga life. And it be so close to like, nigga, it be so personal. Cause you come out the streets and you get in this rap shit and the love you get in this rap game is like no other love. You might have grew up listening to dude. You might got a certain kind of fandom associated with how you used to hustle to his music or how you look at him going through death row, whatever it might have been. But shit, dog, I don't know how y'all just saying them your people. Again, my question would have only been in that moment. How close were you and Boosie? Was it a music relationship or was it a street real relationship? Like you ever see some of these niggas without their jewelry on? Every time you see a nigga, he iced up, it's at a club popping bottles, niggas high smoking weed. Like you got to evaluate that relationship. What is that really? Not saying that it ain't, but it's like this is what this is, homie. This is a music kind of thing though. You dig what I'm saying? And also, I believe Boosie to be caught up in this shit too. Boosie to be caught up in, yo, when I do an interview, I'm going to say whatever I think. I'm going to say what I feel. You know, we seen him in that mode when he was doing all that. He also said some things about Tip. He said some other things about other people. Like, Boosie was on that. That's what he was on. He eating off these interviews. I'm always intrigued because so many street rappers have interviews with people who don't understand the streets. And so you could say certain things that need clarification on the street level, but you won't get it from that conversation, right? Because even in the Ralo interview, and QCP is my brother for real, I fuck with him. And he fuck with Ralo the long way. And so the scenario that's happening is Ralo was, according to him, trying to pay someone $300,000 to take his case. There was I think a federal case on one of these busts that was involved with his case that he was trying to get someone to take the case so he can get back out because he was the breadwinner. He was trying to work a move, finesse the feds. Now, in doing that, I don't know what that entailed or what he had to do to make good on that deal or make good on trying to make it look like that. I think that's where they're drawing from. It's like in doing that, he might have said some things that was pointing the feds that way, away from him, but pointing them that way to try to get out of the situation. I don't think that he was able to get out of it in that way. I think ultimately it rolled back on him. But that was one of his people, one of the people that was known to be with him that was running around Atlanta. And they had a back and forth. I think this was one of the better interviews of the year with Ralo. My only question would be to Ralo is, you know, one end, I hear you on there and you say, yo, in my mind, I was ready to do 30 years. I was ready to go ahead and lay it down for 30 years. And then on the other end is, I'm trying to work a move to get out. You see what I'm saying? And so that's what people are asking me about. You know, people are asking me about those two things and how they live in the same place. And so I'll put that out in the universe for Ralo. And if he comes across that, you know what I'm saying, then he can justify that if he see fit. He also spoke about being told on himself and about a guy who he helped along the way and hustled with him that told on him. I always like to ask people how they get over that and what that's like. Because when I got put in that situation, if I'm being honest with you guys and myself, it changed me. someone betray you, you know, on that level, it's like they rip it from the roots. They rip your trust from the roots. I've been involved with people who, to get out of a trap, they'll cut their own leg off, cut their arm off to get off the trap. They'll do anything not to get caught on the trap. So I know what that's about, and I know what that's like, right? But I also know, man, it's like an uphill battle. Just even being born in the circumstances to even have to consider selling drugs and building up all these different walls. And I was talking to my cousin the other day, and he in the federal penitentiary. He was telling me, man, I had got a car and such and such happened and such happened, one of my lows, and I used to just park it at a hospital. It was a hospital 2-3 miles from my crib, one of my spots. And I never took that car to my spot. It's the car would be all at the club, me and my little low. It never pulled to my house. Do you understand the level of this is war, my nigga? This is high level war. A nigga can't even pull his car to his house dealing with this street drug game. That mean every night I got to get some kind of way to get from here to there. I might got to drive a car here, get out that car, get in this car. It's like it's a lot going on for my safety. And when you do all of that and still get told on, or you do all of that and they still get tipped off, or they still get to you some kind of way, it'll break down your understanding. I want to talk about this and then we'll get out of here for the day, and I'll see you guys next week. Ralo and Young Dolph. I want to speak about some of the narratives online that is surrounding Ralo and Young Dolph's scenario. For those who do not know, Ralo and Young Dolph had, from my vision, from my perspective, had a very close relationship where Dolph seemed to always be one of those guys that were looking to help street niggas get out the streets. Every single guy I got in the feds loved Dolph. And this ain't me. I don't even know Dolph. I don't know none of his people. Me and Band play cool, but I don't know none of those guys for the most part. But every nigga I speak to in the feds speak highly of Dolph. They looked at Dolph like one of those guys. And these are my people that I got a level of respect for. And so I always look at what they look at and see how the streets really feel about some of these rappers. Dolph was one of those guys that, for a lot of the guys, checked off a lot of the boxes. That's to not take anything from Yo Gotti, his family, CMG, or what they've contributed. But I've always said, a lot of the homeboys that I know, while they do respect Gotti, they got a high level of respect for Dolph and his hustle and what he stood for. Ralo is one of those guys that was around Dolph when he was alive, and Dolph blessed his game every which way, every time he could. Dolph was one of those guys want to see you really win. And I promise you, in this rap game, these rap dudes, they get infected. They get infected with a behavior that's meant for women. They get infected with a behavior that the fame, it blinds you. It places you on a path that you can't even see where you going. You can't even digest it. It's moving so fast. They've placed you in a tornado to get your money, but they are fucking up your psyche. But your psyche is collateral damage. They just need you lit enough to not pay attention to the money. But Ralo and Dolph were cool. And Sean Cotton on Say Cheese asked Ralo where he was, how he felt when he got the news of Young Dolph passing. Let's listen to what he said. Pay attention.
The Dolph situation.
Right.
When you heard that news.
I almost lost my goddamn mind. I lost my cell phone that day. See, Dolph, whenever I had phones and shit in the joint, man, Dolph would sit on the phone 3-4 hours. You smell me? Just talking, just vibing. You know what I'm saying? This is one of the niggas that when Queen sent him over songs for me, he jumped right on it. Whenever any one of my people be around him and say a free Ralo thing, he do it. Whenever my family needed some money, he send it. You smell me? So like with Dolph, you know, I gotta choose that side. Why? That man in the ground. He got kids out this motherfucker that growing up without a bag. How the fuck I look? I ain't got no beef with Yo Gotti or nobody that's with him. Or whatever. I ain't saying he did it. I ain't saying that. Yeah. Whoever did whatever they did. But for me to be fucking with a nigga that this man was hating. You know, Yo Gotti was my favorite rapper all my life. But this man been fucking with me and my family and helping me with my livelihood and helping me feed my kids and shit. And looking out for my neighborhood. He the reason why he contributed to all we have today. For me to goddamn be fucking with some people and that man dead that he disliked it. And his wife, his girl out here raising the motherfucker by herself. I ain't doing that. I ain't saying I'm finna go over here and step on home and do none of that shit. I'm just saying it ain't the right thing to do. If your man's in the ground that you was fucking with and he didn't fuck with these people, I'm not finna do it. I ain't saying, hey, everybody, let's go to war. I ain't saying that. I'm just saying I'ma move right. If Goldmouth died today and he was beefing with a nigga, I'm not finna go. If Goldmouth died today and Jesus wanna come embrace me, I'm not doing that. All right, Jesus, assalamu alaikum. But I'm not finna go hug this man and embrace this man. I don't want no smoke. Do your thing. You smell me? But whoever it is, you smell me? That's just me. Because I won't want nobody to do that to me. I don't want nobody to do that to me.
Exactly.
It's hard to push back on anything that Ralo was saying as it pertains to Dolph or anyone in that scenario. I will say and add this to the conversation though. Sometimes you can't choose it. Sometimes it ain't no choosing that. I ain't saying it ain't no beef. Now when you choose sides in this, homie, smoke go with that. Sometimes you choose sides in this kind of shit, smoke go with that. Ain't no I'm in it, but I ain't in it. And so sometimes you got to prepare for war when you choose sides. And so here's the thing now. If you're Key Glock, because I want to address the internet and everyone saying though, yo, we don't see Key Glock embracing the Ralo movement as it pertains to Dolph. I don't think there's no disrespect, but Key Glock is on the other side of this. Where it ain't just no music and it ain't just no free nothing. It's really smoke behind this. So no disrespect to Ralo, but if I'm Key Glock and I do hear you say, you know, I fuck with Dolph, I love Dolph, but I ain't saying I ain't saying I'm a step on them folks, or I ain't saying, you know, them guys this or that, then I'ma stay away from you, because that's what I'm saying over here. Yeah, nah, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying step on them folks over here. If I believe that to be the case, I ain't saying that that's what's happening. But I'm saying if we drill this down, we haven't saw Key Glock with Ralo. So it begs the question, what are the many reasons could that be for? Another reason that can be for is Key Glock and his family, they may not try to relive that a lot. They may try to move away from. You know, there's a thin line between keeping the name alive and making us relive it. You see what I'm saying? And so maybe there's a conversation to be had about the kind of content that you want to attach to Dolph's name. You dig what I'm saying? Especially naming songs after him and things like that, right? So you got to start to take other things in consideration, because there are family members that's grieving, there's children that's growing. But on the other hand, Ralo has some of his real right homeboys with him. But the internet is questioning why we don't see Key Glock, why we don't see Glock posted, why we don't see Glock engaged with it. You know, I guess we'll find out. I do not think it's no beef with Key Glock and Ralo. I want to be on record saying that. Right? We have a podcast, we deal with music and all things surrounding music and how it plays into the music. But I truly believe that Key Glock is examining and evaluating what's going on, because if you look into everything that's going on, and I won't go into some of those things because there's cases that's open, there's things that's happened that you can point at and say, no, this is a kind of serious matter. There's things happening. This isn't just something that's just, right? It's situations. There's things going on. And while I do enjoy the new song with Ralo, I think it's a great song. And I think Ralo is getting better with his rapping. But I do think that not seeing Key Glock is not a coincidence. You know? One thing you must also understand is that the fans can sniff out certain things, and overwhelmingly, it seems like Dolph fans are activated and supporting the Ralo thing. But there's a thin line, and you got to be careful with that to make sure it doesn't come off as clout chasing. Continue making the music, continue making your records. That's your homeboy. Continue to put him down in music. Continue to make sure people keep his name alive. But it may be a conversation to be had with the family. And that's me just stating the obvious, right? My job is to examine the music. So I'm stating the obvious. Key Glock hasn't embraced that. Ain't no way around that. It ain't no way to tiptoe around it and act like that ain't right. So y'all know us. We real. It's Up There Podcast, Big Loon. I got to keep it real. You see what I'm saying? I would love to have a conversation with one of those guys and figure that out. Is there a conversation that need to be had with the family? Are we trying to move away from speaking this way in records as it pertains to his name? We now moved on to now getting streets in his name, getting buildings after him, right? You got to be in concert with the family, right? And that's what I think. That's my opinion. That's my take. It's Up There Podcast. Y'all come to patreon.com. It's Up There Podcast for the vibes. You know what the vibes is. It's up there. Love.